What's going on, everybody? We are Bronen Chump. I am Nexus Complex. With me is Green Knight Gaming and Cody. I don't even remember. You've changed your YouTube. I think your Bones Brook now. I can't remember if you got any numbers with it.
Nay, just
Yeah.
Bones Brook.
All right. So we decided that Green Knight and Bones Brook definitely read a lot more manga than I do. I am actually surprised I can read, so I guess I got to thank Final Fantasy for that. But we decided it would be fun to get together and kind of review manga and anime as we go. It's kind of like a fun side project. We decided to start with Pokemon Adventures, which is really good if you're a fan of the Pokemon franchise. And it also deviates into some more adult themes, which I think people that have been playing since the initial Red and Blue will definitely appreciate. So yeah, that's the intro. Get us started, guys. I guess to start right at the beginning, how did you guys feel about the way that Pokemon Adventures jumped right into the journey itself?
So I do enjoy, like, obviously right at the gate they have the action of him immediately catching the Nidorino. But I also do like them being like, okay, because if you don't know, Adventures came out while in development for Yellow. They're immediately like, okay, you may not have heard of Pokemon. Let's do the breakdown. And it's not like the movies are like, oh, the world of Pokemon. They're actually like, okay, here's the real down low. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you have something like this, especially when at this point, like you said, they're developing Yellow, I think they had a good feel at this point that, like, this is going to be a phenomenon. But I don't think there's any way that they thought that Pokemon would be exactly what it is now. So they had to throw that in there to be like, hey, here's what the fuck is going on here. These are Pokemon. And since you touched upon it, I, being a huge fan of the Nidoran line, am very fucking disappointed that Nidorino didn't find his way onto the main team.
Nope.
Because I was like, oh, they're catching Nidorino in the first fucking page, basically. Let's go. Fucking Nidoking gonna be here, but no, not in the cards.
Nope.
Never used
Gone
it
and then
again.
immediately forgotten.
Yep. Similar to that, one thing I find super interesting is since Pokemon was so new, especially in Adventures, the first couple of volumes, some of the designs aren't always right. Like if you see in that first chapter, Charmander's got those like spikes on his back. When Blue first used Charmander.
Oh shit!
That's cool.
Actually, I have to go back. I didn't even notice that the first time I was reading through it. I have to go back and double check.
Oh yeah,
that.
he does. He got his like, little neck nubs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's like only for one panel, but he does.
Yeah. It's only for one panel, but yeah, I don't know if it was just a mistake or if it's just because I don't know if the official Sugimori art was out yet, so I don't really know exactly what they were going off. But
shit,
it's interesting.
Yeah, hell of a catch. So I guess the initial one, I guess it's more like a prologue chapter more than anything, is Red catching the Nidorino, as Green Knight stated, and then hearing about a rare Pokemon in Viridian Forest. He then goes to investigate where he meets the rival Blue, Team Rocket, who is going to be the major antagonist going forward. And he kind of gets humbled in the forest. So yeah, they fucking humbled it as real quick out the gate.
Which I do like. First of all, really glad I can't. Let me see when this was first published. But I'd be curious if this was the first acknowledgement of Mew, because I'm sure you guys know this, but Mew was never supposed to be in the original game. Mew was thrown in last minute. And I think that I would have to assume that this came out before the Pokemon the movie, which obviously was Mew's first appearance in the anime. So I would be curious if this was the first like acknowledgement of Mew as an actual Pokemon that you can catch, rather than just being like the myth in the book from on Sinnoh Island. But I can't confirm that. But yeah, he gets humbled fast. We also get our first introduction of Team Rocket here, who are surprisingly competent, although for whatever reason, like, oh yeah, there's a Pokemon here, you can stay around.
Yeah, like
Team Rocket's. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good, man. You got it.
Yep. Yeah, no, the way Team Rocket's handled in this series, especially in the Red and Blue saga, is actually pretty well, like, compared to the game. It's much more attuned to the games than the anime. There is no blasting off again. I don't think they're ever really used as a butt of a joke.
No, they are introduced, and they are introduced as villains, and they're introduced as a serious fucking threat right out the gate. It's never said that they'll beat a child, but it's implied that they'll beat the fuck out of a child.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
Surge,
no. There is like very clear later, like, oh, we're gonna like you will die.
yeah. I mean, Surge
Like,
beats up Red,
yeah,
which
Surge tortures Red. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
which
they're
yeah, spoilers for later in the book.
yeah,
yeah they're
spoilers.
heavy fucking duty. But the humbling experience for Red gets him to basically be revealed that Blue says, you need to go fucking learn before you start coming out here because you don't know your shit. Says his basically goes to basically tells him more or less to go see Professor Oak, and that leads us into chapter 2, where Red goes to meet up with Professor Oak in the lab, which leads to a pretty funny chapter overall in terms of what happens.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty good chapter. I love Bulbasaur here. I also do like that Oak has all the Pokemon here because I feel like I can't be the only one who here always thought it was weird that Oak has like all these Pokemon. He has the Pokedex with all the entries, and he has 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh yeah, this Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur. Don't ask where everything else went.
Yeah, it is handled much better than in the games. I also like that all the Pokemon that get released at the beginning are all like very early Pokemon or like unevolved Pokemon, so they all make sense for trying to track them down at the time. Like Pidgey, Meowth, Caterpie, Weedle, like all the stuff you see early on, which also is a nice little callback to like doing the game itself because those are all the Pokemon you kind of see on those initial routes, unless your version exclusives and shit.
Also, Pidgey poops on Professor Oak.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just
I was
saw
gonna say
that.
I don't remember this slice having that much. Like I don't remember the manga having a lot of crude humor, and then I got to that, I was like, wow, maybe I'm wrong.
Honestly, I that's one of the things I appreciate about the manga versus some of the other stuff that we've been given from Pokemon outside of, the few anime spin-offs that kind of focus on more of what's going on, like the Pokemon Adventures spin-off animes, shit like that, where you actually see some realness to it and those adult themes like a bird's gonna shit on people. It's just it happens, Like, you gotta get shit on sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
and they're not
Mhm.
afraid to throw some of those jokes in here for that, and I appreciate that.
And then we also get our first look at kind of the dangers of the Pokemon world for real. Is like Mew pretty much left Red alone last chapter, but this Machoke is here to actually hurt them. Like
Machoke.
he is yeah. I say this Machoke is represented as a very real threat who is about to hurt or kill Red.
Oh, he wanted all the smoke.
Yeah, no, like wild Pokemon are like an actual threat too, as opposed to the games and even the anime. It's much more of a real lived-in world than what we get in the anime.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a manga, so the anime did it too, where you get the cheesy little shit that kind of like helps you win a fight or win a battle. But I did kind of appreciate Red being like, "Oh, son," and then pulling the curtain to let Bulbasaur blast a fucking solar beam of this thing, and winning the battle because of that. And that basically that directly leads to him being gifted Bulbasaur from Professor Oak, and kind of rounding out his 2 Pokemon that he's going to go for right now before he goes into Viridian Forest. It is kind of strange thinking about that now that, he's definitely got like probably 6 to 10 Pokemon at least by now, and he's still just rocking Poliwhirl and Bulbasaur at this point.
Yeah, I would say it's honestly weird. It was weird to me going back because I knew Red gets Pikachu, that he didn't get he doesn't get Pikachu until several chapters in. I remember the Pikachu being like one of his big Pokemon, and then like I said, he gets Bulbasaur first, and that kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, oh right. By the way, I want to point out how strong is Blue at this point, because that Poliwhirl, like we're not shown rustling. Poliwhirl goes into the bushes and comes out knocked out. Like Charmander one-shotted him.
I mean, Poliwhirl gets the shit kicked out of him almost every fight. He is
Yeah.
he is the Yamcha of this manga.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, just like imagine like that, like the realization for Red there is like, oh yeah, like Poliwhirl can handle this, and it walks out. And he's like, my Pokemon was stronger. My Pokemon had a type advantage. What just happened?
Yeah. And I know that the way Blue trains his Charmander, like I think we've only seen to this point that he only has Charmander that we've seen.
Yeah.
So then going into chapter 3 is when he actually enters Viridian Forest. Immediately gets back into some bullshit with Blue,
Yep.
where Blue Charmander just annihilates a Venomoth, which that's fine. That's on brand. I'm cool with that. But as Jonathan said, just fucking is this this is where they battle, right? Where he goes into the bush and just gets
Yeah.
fucked
This
up.
is this is him. Polyworld walks into the bush and finds out he went into the wrong neighborhood.
Also, I'm a huge fan of paneling in manga. Some I will always jerk off, and I don't know if he has it open too, but the very last panel of chapter 3, with that with the silhouettes of them walking away, and then the silhouettes in the background, it's fucking great. Like some really cool. This is drawn very well.
Oh yeah, they that was one of the things I was going to talk about kind of when we got more towards the end. But the manga, the art style of the manga is very very good. It's different enough from like the anime and everything, but it still stays true to like the games, which I really appreciate.
Yep. I will say I like this is probably one of the 2 best chapters in all of the Red and Blue saga for showing off the differences between how Red and Blue like work and operate. Is so obviously the chapter is versus Kangaskhan in which by the way is how all the Japanese chapters are named, is like versus Mew versus Bulbasaur versus Kangaskhan. That's how they all are. And we obviously see that like Blue's whole thing is Kangaskhan is strong. It should not be here. I'm going to catch it. And Red is like, hold up, why is Kangaskhan here?
Yep. And he noticed during the fight that the Kangaskhan is fighting very defensively, which leads to the realization that it's got the baby in the pouch and they need to help it. So
I think this is one of the 2 best chapters in the entire Red and Blue saga for showing how they operate differently.
And then going through that, Red finally gets through Viridian Forest to Pewter City, which is where he finally acquires his 3rd Pokemon that is actually just being an asshole, stealing food, and eating produce as a fucking mouse would do. I love that.
I love this Pikachu. I think this Pikachu is, no disrespect to Ash, but I love this Pikachu's personality so much more than I love Ash's.
Yes, 100%. Like, they kind of, you see in the anime, they kind of wanted to do this, but then they were like, nah, Pikachu's got to be friendly way too early. This Pikachu is still a dick at the end of the first volume.
Yep. He is just a major pain in the butt. Like, obviously there wasn't character traits, like natures and stuff in the manga at this point, and the games at this point, which I do like later, spoilers, later down the line, they do start like Pearl, Diamond, and them. Their Pokemon have canonical natures and like stuff like that. And I love how it doesn't matter. You still know exactly which one this had. You know exactly what nature this Pikachu has, and it's just a little bitch. I love this thing.
Yeah, I mean, Ash's Pikachu was a bit of an asshole, but yeah, it wore off fast. And
I was gonna say he drops it by episode 2. He was a dick exclusively for episode 1, and then we see the bits of Pikachu kind of warming up to him here, but not much. And then we get Blue, who is the introduction for kind of the whole gym leader system, which, by the way, it is so weird to me for them to actually acknowledge that the gym badges give like Pokemon more power. That is such a weird thing for them to acknowledge, because it's something that was dropped so fast in the games, and like it's never acknowledged in any other media, I don't think, outside of the games.
No, literally, it's just the first couple games. Like, and I think, what's it, around the Game Boy Advance or slightly after that when they stop it? Because I know it was still. I think I want to say like I remember the GBA games still saying they made them stronger, but maybe I'm wrong.
no, they
Yeah,
Badge Boost was definitely in Hoenn.
Okay.
I'm actually Googling because I'm curious when Badge Boost stopped, because I thought it
yeah,
kept
that was like what I was doing too. Yep, Gen 1 to 3.
1 to 3, okay.
So it was dropped in Gen 4, and like I said, I don't think it was ever acknowledged in any other like media. I don't think like in the anime they mention it. I don't think like in the card games that like badges were ever an item to give you boost. I don't think like it's in any other spin-off games. So it's just so weird to see like Blue acknowledge like, yeah, if you pick up the stone badge from Brock or whatever, you're gonna the Boulder Badge. Like it boosts your Pokemon's attack power. Like it's so weird to hear somebody acknowledge that.
Yeah, and that gives us to, like we're already partially into chapter 5 at this point anyways, but it shows Blue, and I love this because back in the original games, if you started with Charmander, you basically had to have a fucking Charmeleon to beat Brock, and that's exactly what Blue has. He has evolved his Charmander and Charmeleon. They're battling in the ring. He is whooping ass, and then Rid decides, because he's got a rivalry with Blue, that, bitch, you're not the only one getting a badge today, and he signs up. And that's when we kind of get to really see, like, we've already seen Pika's kind of mentality, but we see it even more so here.
Yep. Which, because there's no healing. The Pokemon Center is broken for some random bandits, which I love. It's not Team Rocket. It's just some random group that came through and just vandalized this Pokemon Center. He can't heal, so his Bulbasaur, he's always got like half health Bulbasaur and Poliwhirl, and he's got full health Pika. That's it. So, which by the way, I know we have discussed beforehand how gruesome the manga can be. I know it's not like bloody gruesome, but I will say, like the freezing and shattering of Graveler in his very first battle is pretty sick. Like, do you guys think like Graveler can be put back together? Do you think like they can super glue this thing to heal it, or do you think that Graveler's just dead?
I assume he's dead, but it would be funny if he was like the one of the four Saint Beasts from Yu Hakusho, where like his core was still together and he could pull himself back.
Just because like that's a knockout already, and it's just like, huh, now that you say it, I don't know if this thing lives or dies now. But yeah, I thought that was super interesting. But also, I do like how the gyms are run. So obviously the gyms are these major things. There is 8 in each region, and there's a lot of trainers vying for this. So in the games, obviously you're the only one that matters. So you walk in, you beat them, and you go on. But here we're introduced to kind of how they weed out the trainers who can battle Brock each day, and it's this big tournament every day. And I think that's super cool.
Mm-hmm. It's also super interesting that Pikachu beats Onyx with a Thunderbolt, especially because, like, I know the manga acknowledges types and immunities, so it's weird here they just ignored that.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, okay, obviously the anime he hit the sprinklers and that was it, but there's no explanation for it in the manga. He just Thunderbolts him and somehow wins. He hits him so hard the Onyx explodes.
It's the power of friendship. That's literally the only thing that makes sense, is because I think Pika felt loved, and in that moment, I guess, because like Red jumps in to save him from the Skull Bash, so I guess Pika's like, oh shit, you actually do care about me, so the power of friendship gets the Boulder Badge.
Or the mangaka forgot that ground types were a thing, or the Onyx was a ground type.
Sir.
Pika immediately goes back to being a little dick.
Yep. And then we go from that into kind of saying it's funny. It's kind of cool to see the similarities between the anime and the manga, but where they like diverge, because to this point we've had a lot of the same kind of basic story and some of the same things that happen, like Pikachu pulling the win over Onyx when everything seemed lost, and now we go into the meeting Misty thing. There is no Spearow attack for the bike thing, but we do have an interesting thing, which I think was a lot cooler, which was the injured Gyarados just raging out and attacking everything, which was really cool, because Gyarados is a badass. I think everyone knows how badass Gyarados is in the first couple games. So to see him just fucking shit up here was really cool.
Also, my theory that the mangaka forgot Onyx was a ground type, I think, is almost immediately proven, as a couple pages later, we see Bulbasaur barely get damaged by the water attack. We know that type advantages are a thing, and so I just think that he just forgot or didn't know that Onyx was a ground type. Because again, this was fairly early in the games being a thing.
Yeah, they probably just told him it was like a rock type, and he was like, "Oh, okay."
He wrote himself into a corner. He's like, "I've already told them that we can't use Bulbasaur and Poliwhirl. Now we got to get a win here." Yeah, as you mentioned, we get Gyarados now, which, by the way, is a really interesting thing. I love is, so obviously after they battle the Gyarados for a little bit, which Leech Seed coming in clutch for some reason, Ash Red catches it. this is interesting because Misty immediately reveals that it's her Gyarados, which means that you can catch other people's Pokemon in this world. It's just hard, which I thought was interesting because obviously you can't do that in the games or the anime. We also get to see Gyarados be cool here for a minute, and Misty we see kind of the depths of what we would later learn in the next chapter be how Team Rocket will, like I said, essentially how much darker they function is. As Misty said, this is her Gyarados that was fine a week ago, and it has been tortured and experimented on to the point where it is raging out and will destroy everything in its path. Like, how much torture do you think this Gyarados went through in that time?
Yeah, it does a great job of setting them up. Like, we already know they're the villains, but now it just kind of shows the callousness and everything of them to the point where, like, you definitely want to see these fuckers get beat up.
Yeah, it gets worse when we get to a certain EV, which not this volume.
The EV is amazing. I love that. I love Red's EV. It is so good.
But it's funny that we're trying not to talk over each other, so sometimes we're getting these awkward pauses.
Yeah.
Professional. We're professionals here, but
It's the first one. They'll get over it.
They'll get over it. But the other thing I wanted to mention, I think it kind of really comes up in the Gyarados chapter, and especially more so down the line, is like how important the Pokédex is. Like, it's like shown to be a very powerful, very important tool that all the main characters utilize constantly, and it's not just utilized when Ash forgets something because he's dumb, like the typing of Heracross, who he owns. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, they do a good job of showing off, like, the technology of the Pokedex is not something just everyone fucking has. And, you know, the world itself is a lot of people, and I think you see it a little bit later, you know, in the first volume here when we get to, like, the Pokemon fan club. But not everyone's a trainer, not everyone knows the type, not everyone cares about the types. So having something like the Pokedex really gives them an advantage for when they run into these random encounters. But going off of this, once they catch the Gyarados, they realize Team Rocket's there. They realize the connection to the Moonstone, which is what Team Rocket's going for. That leads us into the next chapter where they enter Mount Moon, and they are fucking with some Team Rocket grunts. They try to find the Moonstone, and then I think this is where we meet Rhyhorn, right? Like, Rhyhorn first becomes like a boss, and then this is like an evolution mid-battle, I think.
Wait, I really love the shot of the evolution in this chapter. I think this is one of the best shots of evolution we get in the manga. Like, you see like the drill burst through his regular horn. We see like his legs kind of extending. And it's also a great sign of like how the experimenting of Team Rocket, where they just inject this thing with like liquid rare candy.
Yep, it's also it's a forced evolution, and also I don't think we find out for like until the end of the volume that this is Koga. It's kind of cool, but you can clearly tell like his ninja gear is there. But I didn't realize it at first when I was reading it.
Yeah, that's another major difference between the games, the anime, and the manga is that I think, Jonathan, you're the one that said something about it. The games were playing with the idea of the bunch of the gym leaders being operatives for Team Rocket, but never actually implemented it. Like, I know Sabrina's sprite is kind of an allusion to that. But this one in the manga, dude, they are just straight up like, what's it like? Half of the gym leaders? Maybe a little bit more than that?
It's about half to start off with. Actually, it's slightly more than half to begin with.
It's 4, isn't it?
It's 5 to start off with, technically.
Who's the 5th?
So there's obviously Giovanni. Yeah. You have Koga, Lieutenant Surge, Sabrina, and Blaine works for them until the start of the second volume.
Oh, does Blaine? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the only 3 that are technically not part of Team Rocket are Brock, Misty, and Erica.
Which, by the way, spoilers are supposed for volume 2, which will catch us in the next episode.
Spoilers for a 23-year-old manga.
Yeah. More than that, man, I was actually looking it up to see about the if this was Mew's first official like acknowledgement, which it's not. In the TCG, Pokemon Fossil came out 2 months beforehand and had a Mew card. But this is the first acknowledgement besides that, and it came out in August 1997. It's almost 30 years old.
The first movie wasn't out yet?
Nope, the first movie didn't come out until 1999.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, this is the card games was the first to acknowledge Mew outside of like the book, and then this. So, fun trivia.
After the Mount Moon, after seeing like I think they do reveal Koga's face at the end, but at
They
the
do.
time you don't know who he would be if you hadn't played this stuff already. So
Yep.
I guess it's less impactful if you hadn't played already. But then we go into Rid being a braggadocious asshole, which is
Yeah.
basically this whole chapter. I mean, that's his personality kind of in general, but this whole chapter it just gets him in trouble because he's talking his shit about how he's going to destroy the Cerulean City gym leader, and then that reveal happens.
I love Red being a cocky little misogynistic son of a bitch here. Like he is sitting here just like he immediately says that he's like, there's a lot of maids for me to hit on and ask out. Like he doesn't care. He just wants to get a girlfriend. His immediate answer to like is where's the cerulean gym leader? I'm gonna kick his butt. Like he has no mind that like Misty could potentially do anything. He's just constantly like, you were asleep, idiot. I love him being this little cocky little son of a bitch to get his ass kicked.
Yeah, no, I like Red's personality here because like he's an asshole, but he's got some charm to him. He's not just completely unlikable, but he's a cocky little butthole, and
Yep.
I don't know, I think he's not the most original protagonist, but I think he serves the story really well.
Yeah, and I mean they do a good job of balancing the cockiness and the arrogance with the fact that he does care about his friends and his Pokemon and things like that. Because obviously every protag has to have redeemable qualities. Like,
Yep.
there's got to be a reason you root for them, and they do a good job of balancing him out. He's not perfect. He's not like super protag, but he's also got the cool factor. Like I'd appreciate that. Like if I was a teenager going on a fucking Pokemon journey, I'd probably be trying to hit on a whole bunch of chicks too if I just beat the bunch of these fucking gangsters in a mountain. Like,
Yeah.
why not? So
You
then,
didn't see how cool I was. You should have been there.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. If you had seen, you'd be dropping your panties right now, but you weren't there, so I'm gonna have to tell you about it. So then we get the whole reveal that Misty's the Cerulean gym leader. He loses to her originally, then they train together. Does he actually beat her? I think she just gives him the badge, or does he actually beat her?
No, he just gives her
It's kind of implied that in the training that he like learned her moves and beat her.
Gotcha.
But I don't think it's officially said.
Yeah, because the only battle sequence you actually see between them is him losing, and then they just go on the training arc.
Also, I don't know if you have the manga open still, Jonathan, but that last, or not the last page chapter, but that last panel where he's leaving, saying goodbye to Misty, you see the silhouette of Pikachu? That thing does not look right.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
He's got like 3 ears.
Oh, he's got 3 ears.
Yep, and his tail's a little weird.
The tail I can get, it's like a weird angle, but he has 3 ears. What is wrong with Pikachu?
Team Rocket's doing some experiments on Pikachu.
Yeah. You thought Eevee was the first major experiment.
But no, I really do like that Red does lose. Like, it's not like Ash loses 3 fights a series. Like, Red loses constantly.
And also, like, this feels more deserved than, like, Ash's first couple badges. Ash was kind of just luck boxing his way into badges, whereas Red, like, kind of luck boxes his way into stuff too, but it seems more earned here, I guess.
I think Ash successfully beats, like, for real beats, I want to say it's 2, maybe 3 gym leaders in all of Kanto. Because, like, Misty's sisters give him 1. Brock gives him 1 for hitting the sprinklers. Erica gives him 1 for helping to stop the burning building, which, like, fair. Sabrina gives him 1 for making her laugh. And then he beats Team Rocket, but not really Giovanni. So, yeah, I think he only beats Lieutenant Surge, Koga, and Blaine.
Yeah, so they do a much better job of making Red seem less of a charity case in this. And then we meet our Redneck Bill.
Yeah, I love Redneck Bill. He's so stupid.
Rattata Bill especially is like...
Oh my god.
His hair.
With the buck teeth.
Carnation, what are you doing? Why aren't you aiming for the wangs?
It's definitely not what I anticipated when I was going to read Bill's dialogue, but you know what? It was a bold move, and I respect it.
So I mentioned this to you guys before, but I want to bring it up here. It is a little jarring to me, and I have no idea how this is in Japan, like if all the characters are supposed to have an accent or not. But it is always very weird to me. Is every now and again one of the characters will like drop at the beginning of their word. They'll be like, "Oh, if I go tween, They won't say between. Like every character does it every now and again. But like Bill over here is like, yeah, dang, Fang's gone kablooey again. It's like, what the heck? Which, by the way, love how Red is just walking around with like a whole back of Pokeballs. Like he's got like 11 or 12 of them at this point.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he actually doesn't have more at this point, because it seems like, I don't know if he's just catching one of each species or what. I assume he'd have more than that.
Yeah, he's got at least this much. Who knows how much more?
Yeah, and I know we've been shitting on the anime in comparison. It's way better. But one thing I actually do like that the anime did, as far as like Pokemon, when Ash caught, at least this was later on, I thought about early Red and Blue, but in Black and White, when he catches 7 Pokemon, that 7th one actually shrinks and locks.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a cool way to show that that they have to be limited to 6.
Yeah, because they kind of imply in this one, like, the system is not actually there because Bill didn't actually finish it yet. Whereas in the games and the anime, like, it's already happening. He just doesn't know who the fuck made it.
Yeah, I do think that's cool. I think that getting kind of the explanation of who Bill is, because let's be real here. Who has like ever really gone through the Pokemon games and like when you meet Bill or Beat or whatever, you're like, I invented the system that lets you store your Pokemon. Like you have saw them and you're like, oh, that's neat, and then you immediately forgot about them.
Yeah, Bill is super important. He's in the entire saga all the way to Yellow and through all of Gold and Silver.
He is, and I love Bill towards the end of Yellow. I think that may be my favorite moments with him, but we'll get to that later.
And then we also get the whole, like, Fearow piercing through Poliwhirl's stomach in this. I know it ends up being a swerve. It's the first, like, really hyper-violent thing we've seen, really, besides the ice shattering, but this was, like, straight-up murder.
It's especially bad when you remember that Poliwhirl's swirl is supposed to be his intestines.
But it's the most clutch double team in the series. And they're able to freeze him and then catch Fearow, so all is well, I suppose.
Which one for me and Cody is I'd have to look and see when Alabasta came out for One Piece, but they do something very similar with Nami. I would be like, yeah, we did it first.
Now this was probably definitely before Alabasta.
I would have to assume so. But anyways,
get your original ideas, One Piece. Goddamn.
Yeah, come on.
I have 1,000 chapters of stolen content. Jeez.
Bronen Jump covering all of One Piece, one chapter at a time, coming soon.
Oh, absolutely not.
Fucking
never.
Kill myself.
So anyway, speaking of killing themselves, we go on a boat.
We're on a boat.
Yeah, I like how this one, he just tries to sneak with the S.S.N. and they're like, what the fuck, bro? And they kick his ass off.
Yeah, I love him being he's like, I'm going to go on this boat. There's no real reason for it. He's just like, oh, there's a boat. I should go on it.
And now we finally meet the one of the weirdest groups that we're going to see in this.
Well, yes.
The Pokemon Fan Club, and it is implied that they love Pokemon. Ooh, they love Pokemon a lot.
Yep. Yeah. That's the last time I bathed with my tentacle.
Yes, a legit fucking panel. I had to show my girlfriend. I was like, hey, so you know, this manga has some tentacle fucking a woman. She goes, what? And I was like, you don't see anything. It's not actual hentai, but there's a newspaper clipping, and it's a woman. And she's like, last time I bathed with my tentacle, we all know what happened.
Allegedly. But yes. Doesn't it even have like the heart afterwards in the newspaper?
Yeah, it's the article's called like Pokemon Heart Love or something like that.
Yeah, it's very weird. I also love how this is like the press, like, I love the fan club being the idea of ever evolving a Pokemon is like horrendous to them. Mm-hmm. It's like, why don't you guys battle with your Pokemon? It's like, why would we battle Pokemon? What do you mean in training?
I don't know about you guys, but when I first read this, I know he is the Pokemon fan club guy is like the same design as in the games, but it just looks so much weirder here. I thought it was a disguise.
Yeah, it looks 100% like a disguise.
He's not allowed to go out in public anymore.
Yeah, he's banned from Pokemon centers. He's got to stay away.
Like, I thought it was
leave me your Pikachu, young boy, while you go on the boat. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, which was nice and poetic. Like, all right, he's an asshole anyways. You can keep him. And yeah, I guess it plays more into So I guess getting more into the chapter, the SSN is actually being used to smuggle Pokemon that are stolen, and they've also been doing the whole like, I guess, liquid rare candy serum on these Pokemon. So the fan club chairman had his Abra stolen, and I guess the executor was stolen by one of the other members, which is how this kickstarted everything. And you end up finding out that Lieutenant Surge is behind all these Pokemon being stolen. And we get the nice little like call out to the games of, is that an item? No, it's a Voltorb, bitch. Surprise.
Which I would have to look and see how big Voltorbs are supposed to be, but that like the fact that this one is small enough to fit in Red's hand is crazy. But yeah, I love him being like, oh, somebody dropped a Pokeball. Boom.
Yeah, I've actually got that panel open right now. The one after that where Surge reveals himself, and there's a ton of Electrode and Voltorb, and they're all different sizes.
Yep.
Like there's small Voltorb and small Electrodes.
Yep,
Yeah.
which they eventually worked into the games too. Not to that degree, but it's there now. So, we can kind of go back to this as like one of the first times they actually showed that.
Yep, just took him 20 years.
So then Red on the SSN starts to discover what the fuck is going on, and he kind of gets his ass whooped.
Oh, he gets decimated. That Electabuzz was going for blood. Yeah, he like I know it's like he only uses Poliwhirl, which so I get why they took Pikachu, is they didn't want him having an electric type in this battle. But he still has Bulbasaur. Why wasn't he using Bulbasaur ever?
Bulbasaur actually got them onto the boat.
Oh, did he? Okay. But he also, like, they didn't, like, pull him up?
No, for some reason, so Bulbasaur uses his vines to get them onto the boat, but they never pull Bulbasaur up. So I guess it's implied that Bulbasaur is just waiting for them swimming in the water.
Yeah, no, Red even says, wait there for me. Like, why would you, like, not pull him up with you?
Yep. And like we know why it's so he can force the
type
scene
dissipate.
Poliwhirl or in the evolution, but like
Which comes back later in a very good way. I love the cutback for that.
oh yeah, the water's down here.
Yeah. We'll get back to that later, though.
Not until yellow.
Yeah. Because they do acknowledge how the game mechanics affect like evolution and stuff. Several in later chapters. But like this is kind of one of the, I want to say 2-3 times that they like kind of randomly ignore it, supposedly. But we'll see later that they didn't. But Poliwrath comes back and just this is probably the closest we get to the Team Rockets blasting off again, where he just shucks Electabuzz at Lieutenant Surge.
Yeah, it was also a really cool way to kind of like turn the tide on them a little bit. Like they were super desperate, but Poliwhirl leaving that like trail of water and then freezing it to kind of get them an out. And then obviously, as you guys said, he gets knocked into the water. Poliwhirl saves him. The evolution happens, which is great. Poliwrath is one of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon. I love it. So seeing Poliwrath get a little bit of chance to shine here and beating the shit out of Electabuzz, at least in the short term, was really cool. And Surge like really sells it well too. He's like, "Oh fuck, Poliwrath!"
I'm out of here.
And then they recover the Alakazam, which I honestly thought, because the fan club guy didn't want the Pokemon to evolve, I actually thought that he may have given this Alakazam to Red.
It's an Alakazam now. Never mind. Get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way the fan club reacted, I thought that there might be a chance that Red's getting Alakazam here, but he ends up sticking with his trio of Pokemon. And then we get the nice little bike chapter, which kind of breaks up. We're starting to get to this heavy shit with some of these battles in Team Rocket. Then we get a nice little, like, relaxing, fun chapter.
Yep, this is kind of our filler chapter.
The filler episode, but yeah, Red stays with the trio for basically almost all the series. Like,
Yeah, he gets more Pokemon obviously as time goes on, and hint this, if I'm like, he definitely gets more Pokemon as time goes on. But he like the manga. I don't know. We all have the physical manga, obviously, if you check the back of the book, you can see not only did they include like his current party, but they gave like the actual levels and stats that they should have in the game. And I thought that was always very cool.
Yeah, I do like that. And actually, I just talked about in my book. Doesn't he get he gets his fourth Pokemon right here, doesn't he?
I was about to say that, but I was like, also kind of like, I could be wrong. Maybe he doesn't catch the Snorlax, but I was like, I'm pretty sure he catches Snorlax.
Yeah, I forgot about this, honestly. I thought it was later.
Yeah.
Just a filler episode.
Yeah, I thought he was going to add the Snorlax, because he even, like, nicknames it, just like he does the other Pokemon, but at least for now, he doesn't add it to the party, so.
Yep.
But I also like how it went from, like, the bike, it basically turned into a triathlon.
Yeah. Which, I'm just going to say, like, so, love this. I think this chapter is very funny. I'm going to say it. The ending where they're like, we can't do anything. We're blocked by Snorlax. I was sitting there looking at the river around them, and I was looking at the guy dressed as a swimmer. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, there was some weird stuff like that, but he gets the win, and then I think, doesn't he get, like, almost all the money? Like, he loses the money almost immediately, right? Like, something happens.
Dropping all the Fiend Snorlax.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we get into the actual shit kicking off, which is probably the highlight. Like, I think these two chapters are, it's the finale of the whole volume, so it's fitting that it's kind of like the highlight, but we get to Lavender Town and the whole Mr. Fuji thing, and instead of just, like, a sad thing about, like, your rival's Pokemon dying is what you get in Red and Blue, we get some straight up, like, zombie shit, like, some Pokemon get murdered, like, these last two chapters fucking up the ante significantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, we're basically going to agree with that. But one thing I really like, starting off on chapter 13, the little expressions. Bulbasaur is smiling, and you see a little musical note coming off him. Well, Pikachu looks uncomfortable, and Poly also, like, it's the rain. Why is Poliwhirl not happy?
Because he's not vibing to the music, bruh.
Poliwhirl's just like, can we... Listen, guys, I have short legs.
Bro, this shit's definitely not going to be in my Spotify playlist. Can we change the fucking tunes, Mr. Fuji? But yeah, we get the 13 basically just sets up the framework for what's going to happen in 14. But we get the exploration of the Pokemon Tower. And Rid is completely just no-selling all this bullshit. He's like, Ghost most. These people are all stupid. I'll go there. And then he jumps into some real shit.
Oh, yeah. I know so obviously we get to see Mr. I think that's Mr. Fuji. If not, it should have been.
Yeah, it's Mr. Fuji.
Specifically mentioned his Doduo's death, which I think is one of the very few times that, like, death is straight up like, oh, yeah, my Pokemon died. Like, obviously, there are things like Lavender, like the tower, where you're supposed to be a graveyard, and we see people be like, I'm here to pay respect, but it's very rare that you see somebody be like, yeah, my Pokemon is just straight up dead.
Yeah, thinking about it, even in all the different media, they don't do... They've done better job as recently of implying that Pokemon do age. They're not just, like, immortal. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the little side anime thing they did about the girl capturing a Nidoran. And her dad had a challenge the Elite Four with his Charizard. And the Charizard is noticeably older and getting weaker. So it's kind of cool that they're showing that, like, Pokemon do age, they can die. Like, that's what Lavender Town's for, but in the games, it's just not like... They just say, oh yeah, Blue's Pokemon's dead, and there's nothing ever mentioned again of Pokemon dying.
Yeah. I think that the, like, next time that Pokemon was, like, officially acknowledged that Pokemon die was, like, in the Sun and Moon anime.
I was going to say the Statland episode.
Yep. And they enter the Tower of in Lavender Town, and we're treated to our zombies, which I told you guys before we started this. I love how they use nothing but the stupidest Pokemon. Like, they could have picked, like, Scyther, or, like, other scary ones, like Gengar. No, it's Lickitung. It's Psyduck. Like, didn't even use Golduck. It's Slowbro. It's Tangela. Like, the mangaka was just like, I just want to use the stupidest looking ones. If we're gonna have zombies, they're gonna be dumb. I love that. I think this is very funny looking.
Yeah, and then we find out. Go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say, how powerful is Ghastly?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
Ghastly doing all this?
Yeah, it seems to be pretty
Okay.
fucking strong.
It is a single Ghastly powering the entire thing, controlling all the zombies, and even controlling Blue, which
Oh yeah,
I'll say somehow overpowered Blue and his Charmeleon.
that parlays directly into the finale chapter, chapter 14, which Rid is able to figure out that oh shit, Ghastly, as you guys said, is controlling all this, and is able to target the Ghastly. But then it leads into Koga making his appearance back, and then we get some real cool shit.
I was gonna say right before we get to Koga, I think this is one of the only times I remember, maybe not, but Bulbasaur's sucking in stuff through his bulb.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was very weird to me too. I think it's as a whole. I think it's a weird ending because like, oh, you didn't know my Bulbasaur could like inhale things. It's like, no. When was the last time you saw a flower inhale anything? We do get to see Koga, and by the way, like I know we've discussed before how we like how they use all the random Pokemon. I love Acid being played as an actually like threatening move here
Mm-hmm.
because like Acid, like isn't it like a 20 base power move? Like it's one of those moves that you drop immediately. But like, oh yeah, my Pokemon is throwing out random blobs of acid that would melt anybody. That is kind of threatening now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's like a 40 power move, so it is like one of the most like throwaway moves.
I thought him using it through the soul thing was very cool. I was very happy with that.
But yeah, now we get the thing. If you've heard anything about Pokemon Adventures, you've probably heard of this panel. I feel like it's probably the most talked about thing in the early Pokemon Adventures, and that is
I would think so.
getting decapitated.
Yeah, Charmeleon
Yeah,
is portrayed to look like a badass motherfucker throughout this whole first like 14 chapters. Like he's just kicking the shit out of everything.
The dead Psyduck too to cover up his body is fucking like super meta. I was then literally decapitating. Which, what is Cash?
Chash,
Like,
yeah.
Chash. What is that? Is that just the sound effect? Kind of weird.
I think it's the sound that Arbok makes. It's him getting cut off halfway.
That's his decapitation sound. Fair.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of crazy that their win is because Blue is able to realize that Koga's not actually there. He's giving orders from another location, which is then able to. That's how Charmeleon's able to pull the whole like Psyduck thing. Is because Koga's not actually there to see it.
And then him crushing his little Golbat. How was he seeing through that thing? Like, what was there that was reflecting this image for him?
He's a ninja.
You're right. Good answer. Good answer.
If I remember right, later don't they say it's like supersonic?
I think so, but like, I don't know. It still seems kind of far. But I don't know. It's manga. Gotta accept
it's
it.
very far fetched.
Right.
There is a handful of Deus Ex Machina in the Pokemon Adventures with like what certain moves actually do, and like what was sort of going full Kirby.
I think if I remember correctly, it says something about Koga crushes his screen or something in anger. I don't know if you guys have it open. Like maybe he had like some type of camera system or something in there.
Oh, he like straight up like he, as they're flying away, he like crushes the Golbat that he's holding.
Oh,
but it's like supposed to be like a little Zubat. Which, by the way, I know it's Golbat, but I love the little paneling of it doing its little wings because it looks like Crobat.
Yeah, no, his little monitor. It's like a little like he's flying on Golbat and he has a Golbat monitor. Yeah, not the actual Pokemon, but it's never really explained how the monitor works. I think they just say supersonic, and okay.
You mentioned earlier about how's Red team, by the way. At the end of the book, it specifically mentions that Red has 14 Pokemon on his team at the end.
Brings us to the end of Pokemon Adventures Volume 1. Overall, I thought it was a really good chapter. Like it had everything you kind of want. It had some nice humor. It had some really cool fight scenes that you don't normally get from the Pokemon franchise. And as you guys spoke to, it kind of highlights a lot of Pokemon that you don't normally see. Like the way that they frame this with each, every Pokemon kind of getting like a Fearow. It's just a throwaway Pokemon, but it has a whole fucking chapter dedicated to it, and it gets a cool kill. It just, gets the rug pulled out from underneath of it. But yeah, it's a really good thing. I definitely recommend anyone that's a fan of the Pokemon franchise to read it. And if you're just a fan of manga in general and looking for like a lighthearted read with some cool fight scenes, definitely worth checking out.
I'm excited for next time because I'm gonna be real here. Volume 2, I think, is where we are introduced to my favorite character of the three of red, blue, and yellow. Red, green, and blue. By the way, before we start wrapping up, I wanted to give you guys a fun bit of trivia that you might not know. Do you know why Red has a Poliwhirl on his team?
I know they tried to push Poliwhirl a lot in early merchandising. He's all over.
It was the creator's favorite Pokemon.
It was. It was Hitoshi Tachiri's favorite Pokemon. That's why he was pushed so much. That is why he's on Red's team. I think technically his favorite Pokemon is Poliwag, but still.
But to add on to what Heath was saying about recommending this, obviously we all recommend it, but not to shill for Amazon.com. But it's also super affordable. Like you can get the whole Red, Blue, Yellow saga for like what, $35 or something.
Yeah, something like that. I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I pulled up. I got the second volume because I read through this one and I liked it so much. And yeah, I've been a fan of it for a while. I've actually owned the first volumes, like the first box set, for like years. I just never really got around to reading it until you guys were like, "Hey, read this shit, bitch, and let's do a podcast." And I'm appreciative that you guys did that. And then it made me go out and buy Gold and Silver, because that's actually my favorite game because of nostalgia. It's like the first one I really jumped into. So I'm excited to kind of keep reading alongside you guys and kind of seeing what they got here, because I know the manga itself is pretty well reviewed overall.
$40 total, but yeah, it's good. I'm excited to be doing this.
Absolutely. You guys got any closing thoughts on Pokemon Adventures chapters 1 through 14 or volume 1?
Gonna say it. The fact that Team Rocket forced this Gyarados to go on a rampage with their experiments. Come on, Gold and Silver, be original. Lake of Rage isn't original. Manga did it first.
I might be wrong here because I talked about it briefly, but because the art, I love the art in this one, but I don't think it's as good as Gold and Silver. It's Mato doesn't do Gold and Silver, right?
Mato I think he does the first half, and then I'm gonna get a little serious here. He gets sick. Mato is replaced by, if you look at the books, Satoshi Yamamoto. I want to say it's 4 volumes in Gold and Silver, something like that. And who does the manga for the rest of the series? Because Mato, I think, got better, but I don't think he came back to the manga.
Yeah, he does. He started 1 through 9 is Mato.
Starting from volume 10 onwards is Yamamoto's.
I think Yamamoto does get better too. We'll get to that obviously if we get that far, but I don't think early Gold and Silver is very good for the art. But no, the early all of Pokemon Adventures, the art he does is really good.
I was about to say, goddamn, way to take us out on a low note. Like, man, we really love this. And you're like, yeah, but the beginnings of the next one fucking suck dick. Well, thank you guys. For anyone that made it all the way through, we deeply appreciate you. Hopefully, if you listen to this in the audio-only form, there's not really a video component. We will discuss that at a future date. If you guys like this, be cool, like, subscribe, share with other Pokemon fans. I know it's a stupid thing, but the likes and the views and the comments really do make our Neanderthal brains fire off with serotonin. So it is nice to see that. And yeah, until next time, guys, we have been Bronen Jump. We will catch you on the next one.